Hey, now it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm going solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA wrestling, and we got some breaking news.
Breaking news.
And man, oh man, total nonstop chaos in the world of TNA wrestling seems to be the theme for I would say since the beginning of last year, from when Scott D'Amore got fired. We knew that eventually they were going to try to clear out all of the Scott D'Amore people, but we assumed that certain people, because of their stature in the professional wrestling business, would be safe. And were we ever wrong about that? And we'll get to it. I want the chat to blow up. I need you to hit the like button. I need you to comment and subscribe. Hit me with your takes on this story. I got probably a good half hour before I got to get back to what I'm doing. Thankfully, I have the day off. It's 11:02 Hawaii Standard Time, and we are talking the news that Gail Kim, among several others in that work backstage for TNA Wrestling, are have been let go. They have been fired. They've been relieved of their duties, and it's quite the shocker, to say the least. One story was not that big of a shocker to me, but the rest of it was a big shocker, and the amount of people that got released all at one time, to me, is a big shocker. I got some notes here. I was able to pull some stories from both Fightful Select and PWInsider.com. So go check out Sean Ross Sapp's reporting and Mike Johnson's reporting for some of their exclusive content. And BQ will be out later this week. I think he's probably going to have some more stuff. I don't have inside information on this deal, but I felt like we should, get together and talk about it since it is breaking news. But in a stunning turn of events, TNA Wrestling and its parent company, Anthem Sports and Entertainment, have undergone a significant restructuring, with multiple high-profile departures announced on March 25th today. TNA President Carlos Silva confirmed the exits of 8 key figures from the organization in an internal memo to Anthem staff, signaling a transitional period for the promotion as it continues to build on recent successes. The news, first reported by Fightful Select and PWInsider.com, has really sent shockwaves through the wrestling community. This is a big story, and I've got a lot of DMs that I've got to answer still because people have some takes. I'm going to probably squash some of those takes, but I got the details right here. So leadership exits. Ariel Schnerr, or Scherner is how I've been told it's pronounced. Gail Kim were the 2 key figures, probably the most notable departures that were released today. So among the most notable departures is Ariel Scherner, who served as executive producer of TNA, was effectively the head of creative. So he was basically the Triple H of the company. And I've stated that several times before. He's really the guy that replaced Scott D'Amore. He was running the day-to-day operations. Now, I know that Scott D'Amore was the TNA president, and that went to Anthony Ciccione, who was then replaced by Carlos Silva. But the guy kind of doing a lot of D'Amore's duties was Ariel Scherner, if that makes sense. So they've axed him. He'd been with Anthem forever, TNA and the Fight Network for many, many years. So he was everybody's day-to-day boss. Making his exit a significant blow to the company's creative direction. Scherner's tenure saw him play a pivotal role in shaping TNA storylines, a point echoed in Silva's memo as reported by FightfulSelect.com. As a long-term Anthem employee, Ariel has played an important role in growing our Anthem properties, from his work with the Fight Network and most recently his focus on TNA. Ariel has been instrumental in building our storylines and growing our audiences. With Scherner's departure, Hunter Delirious Johnston will now take over the reins as head of creative, with veteran Tommy Dreamer remaining a key figure on the team, and both will report directly to Silva. So Silva now has removed Scherner, who was essentially Scott D'Amore's replacement, and now Silva is the guy. He is going to get the final say on everything. Okay. Equally shocking is the exit of TNA Hall of Famer Gail Kim, a Knockouts legend, one of the cornerstones of the company since its inception, really since she got there in like 2000. I think she showed up in like 2005, 2006, something like that. But she's, even though was more famous for being in WWE, she's always going to be remembered as the greatest TNA knockout that ever lived, right? She built her entire career in TNA, despite the fact that she had a couple of stints in WWE. She is TNA through and through. She's a beloved figure whose contributions to the company span nearly 2 decades. Kim, who transitioned from an in-ring performer to a vital behind-the-scenes role in talent relations and producing, leaves a massive void. PWInsider.com described her departure as tied for most shocking, noting Kim's run with the company dates back to 2005, initially as a performer, and she was one of the women who forged the Knockouts division before her current role. She was very much loved and respected internally by the talents. Silva's memo, as quoted by FightfulSelect.com, praised her impact. Gail has had a long and storied career in TNA as both a champion and wrestler and a part of the TNA leadership team. Gail has been a powerful presence in our locker room, supporting our talent and their great performances. Tommy Dreamer will now assume Gail Kim's responsibilities in talent relations, adding to his already significant role within the company. Other leadership departures include Rob Kligman, TNA's chief revenue officer. So he was the guy in charge of getting, like, selling ads and things like that and making the money. And he, from what I hear, had been doing a pretty good job. Michael Shevchenko, I believe that's how I pronounce it, Shew Chenko, who oversaw the digital department. Kligman's exit marks the end of his tenure driving sales initiatives. He's only been around for like a year, while Shevchenko's departure is set for April 30th, as confirmed by Silva in the memo reported by both outlets. On the sales side, Kligman departs as chief revenue officer. And in digital, Michael Shevchenko will be departing the organization April 30th. These changes suggest a broader overhaul of TNA's business and digital strategies. Sorry, excuse me. So, and I think Lavi Margolin had some information on this, that David Clevenger will now be coming on as senior vice president of digital in Anthem Sports. And so that's from Lavi Margolin. And he's got, a long list of doing that job for different companies, and looks like he's been around a long time, but no, I've never heard of any of the companies that he's worked for before, but apparently he's a real guy. So there you go. Beyond the leadership team, 4 other individuals are parting ways with TNA and Anthem. Karen Clevitt, Sebastian Destrange, something like that. Romy Glazer, who has been really active this week on social media, has been one of their marketing people. And like, we just learned about her recently. I don't think she's been around that long, but this got to come as a shock to her, because she was pumping up TNA as, I think, like yesterday. I think so. And then Raphael Morphy, who just came back to the company. I don't think he was a full-time guy, but he was like a live events dude. He was working with, he worked at WWE for a while. He was in TNA for a long time. He went over to AEW. He was on the ground floor with AEW. He had recently left. He works for the Barclays Center now, and then he'd been recently helping out TNA, like, on the side. I think he's probably still with Barclays, though. Silva's memo, as cited by Fightful Select, expressed gratitude. In addition to these leadership departures, we also say thank you and goodbye to Karen Clevitt, Sebastian Destrange, Romy Glazer, and Raphael Morphy. Morphy's departure is particularly noteworthy, as PWInsider.com highlighted his role in TNA's recent live event success. Morphy, who had been consulting and working to build the company's live business, was also announced as moving on. Morphy had been involved in the company's great success of late, including the big houses in El Paso. These exits underscored the breadth of the shakeup, affecting multiple facets of the organization. Amid the departures, TNA is already moving forward with new hires to bolster its leadership. Silva announced the arrival of David Clevenger as senior vice president of digital, set to join next month. Clevenger has worked with NFL, NBC, UFC. Okay, so he does have some like legit stuff. I guess I should have finished reading the PW Insider report. So all this stuff is coming at you real fast. Bringing a wealth of experience to TNA's digital efforts. Additionally, Nicole Rasheen started as senior vice president of sales earlier this month, with prior experience at World Team Tennis. These appointments signal TNA's intent to maintain momentum despite the significant losses. So yeah, that's the big news. Obviously, Gail Kim is the one that's going to get all the headlines, but the one that surprised me the most was Ariel Scherner, because he had, from what I could tell, been doing a really good job. I'm not a big fan of what the creative has been, but you can't deny the success and the WWE partnership while it was started. The ball got started with Scott D'Amore. He was the guy that executed it, right? And ad sales up, ticket sales up, everything is doing great. And then all these people get axed. doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. What this does make me think is that Carlos Silva just wants his own people, right? Now, Gail Kim doesn't shock me. And I know that's probably going to confuse some people. But, BQ had gotten word before that something was coming down the pike that probably people weren't going to be happy with. And he had talked about it on his show. And so me, him, and some of the other guys, we didn't really say any of this publicly, but we thought that it would probably be Gail. Now, here's the thing about Gail Kim. Absolute freaking legend. Everybody loves Gail. I personally have met Gail. I've met her husband. I met her husband in Afghanistan, and he couldn't have been a sweeter guy, right? So I'm not saying anything bad about Gail, but talent relations takes a unique skill set, and maybe not everybody has that. And I don't know why in the wrestling business they always feel like a wrestler needs to have that position when someone who's probably an expert in human resources maybe should be the one to have it. Now, they did hire Johnny Bravo and Ingrid, I can't remember her last name, to be on the talent relations team. But I don't know this for a fact. This is not sourced. No one's told me this. This is just Mike riffing. They might, if you see the ad person that they just hired and some of the other people, they're probably going to bring in somebody from an outsider that's like a true corporate professional for that position. That would be my assumption. Like, that would make the most sense to me, considering the people they've just hired. Like, they let go of Josh Matthews, like on the production side, and some other people, and they hired like somebody from like NFL Network and I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy that's been doing stuff for like CBS and ABC and all these other places. The guy David Clevenger's worked with the NFL and other major sports leagues. I think that's probably what we're going to look at with that position. Just because you've been a great wrestler and you're a legendary performer, that doesn't mean you're qualified to do that job. Just like Christy Hemme, like everybody loves Christy Hemme, and she's been in and out of TNA for a long time. Just because we love her doesn't mean that she was qualified to head up the marketing department, right? Like that makes sense to me. Now I'm not saying that she did a bad job. I'm not saying anything like that. I don't know. I'm just assuming that they're taking a look at it, and it seems like they're just getting rid of a lot of the wrestling people with some of these firings, and some of the hirings are not being replaced by wrestling people, other than, of course, like it says, Tommy Dreamer is going to assume those roles. I get the feeling that's not a long-term thing. That's my read on it. That's my prediction. So we'll see. I want to get to your guys' chats and comments. Tell me how you feel. Let me know what you think. IO says, quite the news this Tuesday afternoon. Yeah, big news. I got 160 people watching. If you're watching live, please give me a thumbs up. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment. And if you want more of this type of content, head to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show. I have not released this past week's Brace for Impact episode where I talked all the news and I recapped Impact. I just haven't gotten around to it, but it's been on Patreon since Saturday. So I'll try to get it later today at some point. Michael says, knew that coming by BQ. Yeah, BQ's probably going to have some details on this. Dobby says, I'm more shocked by Ariel than Gail since he was on Anthem Guy for years and was there before they bought TNA. Seemed he had done good work lately too. A new president seems to want his own team. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Okay, people need to take a breath about this. This is from Rye Black. I like Gail, but let's be honest, the Knockouts division was the shits for a while now, and that's on Gail. There's nothing wrong with a fresh mind and fresh voice. I don't know that that's on Gail. I don't know. I don't know that it's like the talent relations department there is a team. So I don't know. Like, it's possible that she tried to hire a bunch of people, but I don't even know that she was in charge of hiring a bunch of people. I don't remember where that was ever reported by anybody that Gail was in charge of hiring knockouts. I don't know that. If somebody can point me in the direction, like give me a periodical or a story that was broken or written by somebody that knows what the hell they're talking about, that said Gail Kim was specifically in charge of hiring the knockouts, I'd love to see it. I just haven't seen it. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're lying. I just don't know. Like, I don't remember where that ever came from, that she was in charge of hiring the knockouts. I do know that the knockouts look up to her. I mean, of course, she's freaking Gail Kim. She's one of the greatest ever. All right. Folks getting their feelings out. Understandable. So Here's the thing. Everybody's acting emotionally on this because they love Gail. I love Gail. Like, she's a legend. I get it. But you gotta try to take a step back and think practically, right? And see, and then kind of let the thing play out. This whole thing might blow up in their face. They might completely shit the bed, or maybe they hire somebody better. I don't know. Right now they got Tommy. So Tommy Dreamer is in charge of talent relations, as far as I know. That's what it looks like based on the reporting. Okay. I'm a little skeptic of Delirious' role. Yeah. So I am not a fan of Delirious's work in the past. You can't really point me to any sustainable success he's ever had. I know they had the MSG thing, but that was really driven by the Young Bucks and Cody and everything that they had going on, and those guys weren't even on that show. So if you could point to me where they were a major success, I'd like to see it. I mean, he went down with the ship in Ring of Honor, and that whole operation got shit canned. Now, they wouldn't have been shit canned if the Young Bucks, Cody, and of course Kazarian and Daniels and everybody that left Ring of Honor all at the same time, had all those people not left, maybe Ring of Honor would still be in business. But he was driving that ship, and once those guys were gone and he was completely in charge of everything, I didn't like their pandemic television was terrible, and he was the guy in charge. So I don't know, unless somebody could point to me where he's been a successful booker. I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical of him too. Okay. Let's see. Gerard, oh my God, TNA is dead. Yeah. Let's see. Paul, folks panic when Scott left, and it has been fine. Plus, Knockouts Division has been crap for a year or two. Knockouts Division is weak as it's ever been right now. It's wild. Okay, Lucky Charm. IWC was just dragging Gail Kim not long ago because she's an advocate for Tessa and close to her. Now they're sitting here crying about her firing. I can't take the internet seriously. Well, that's on you for ever taking the internet seriously. So that's a you problem. You were the one that took the internet seriously. Get on the rest of us. Get along with the rest of us on this level. We've never taken the internet seriously. Myron said weird moves to be making this year, the biggest year since the Spike TV era. I mean, look, if you look at it, it's a lot of like middle managers. Ariel Sherner was like as far as like actual importance to the company, Ariel Sherner was like the highest level person that was let go. Everybody else like middle management type stuff. People that need to rely on what Carlos Silva is doing. This is Eli Samuel. Gail Kim is a major loss to the company. We get, but TNA is moving out and making big moves. I don't know if this Carlos Silva guy is going to be any good. No one can point to me his track record of success in wrestling. He's new to the business. So I can't sit here and tell you that this is all going to work and this is all going to be successful. I don't know that. And nobody else does either. So I don't want to say like, oh, let's just trust in Carlos Silva. What track record do we have that says this guy is going to be good at this job? I haven't seen it. You can point to me his LinkedIn resume, which everybody bullshits on that. So I don't know. But like they could point to like he was in the Professional Fighters League. That company's a dumpster fire. So I don't know. Let's but we'll see. I'm just telling everybody what's happening. Chicken a la King. I hope Jazz puts her stamp on the KO division. I don't know that she even works there. She was around for a couple tapings. Let's see. For a year, she's put out big marketing TNA Plus emails. So there you go. So I guess she's been around for a year. I just learned of her recently. Okay, let's see. How the hell is Tommy Dreamer still there and even getting promotions? I always say people make jokes about his bad booking online. Well, that's the thing is like Tommy Dreamer's not the booker. He's on the creative team, but he's not the booker and he never has been. He's just one of the people on the team. And now he's in talent relations, but he's just one of the people in talent relations. So I like to pick on Tommy too. Everybody likes to pick on Tommy, but I don't know how much authority that guy actually has, right? He's probably still around because he's not super combative and gets along with everybody and knows how to operate within a system without, burning bridges and things like that, right? Some people aren't capable of doing that. Okay. Let's see. It's Ingrid Isley. Okay. Thank you for correcting me on that. I had forgotten her name. Okay. Let's see. You think AEW or WWE is going to try to get Gail Kim? Get Gail Kim to do what? She's not going to wrestle. So get her to do what? I think like to be in their talent relations department. I guess so. But it seems like they already have a talent relations department. I think AEW could use some people in that department, but she just got fired. I don't know. Like people typically don't get fired if they're doing great. So unless it's like she completely got screwed over, which I guess that's also could be true. Multiple things could be true. Let's see. Daza, where do you think Gail Kim ends up? People have been calling for Tony Khan to bring in a woman to run the women's division. Could this be that move? I could see that, but again, I don't know what her qualifications are. She just got fired from a promotion much smaller than AEW. And it wasn't because she was on a winning streak. So I don't know. Could Tony Khan hire her? He likes to do the feel good thing, right? And maybe he could do that. But I just don't know what her qualifications are. So yeah, we'll see. But AEW could use some help in the talent relations division. Like their talent relations is not doing great either. They have a lot of people having some issues over there. So we'll see. Josh says, "Oh dear, what's happening? We must be broke." Motherfucker, who is we? You don't work there. But no, this isn't them. This isn't them being broke. This is just them. It's another corporate restructuring. So we'll see. Let's see. Dobby, PW Insider just posted a new statement from Silva. Hey, Dobby, if you're still watching or listening, DM me that on Twitter. I do a personal DM. That way I don't have to scroll through our group chat. If you will, I would appreciate it. Oh, wait, I think no, you okay? I have it right here. So PW Insider received the following statement from Anthem Sports Group President Carlos Silva. Today, we announced restructuring resulting in staffing changes at TNA Wrestling. These decisions are always difficult, but it became apparent that we needed to make adjustments to our business strategies. We are grateful for those who worked here and thank them for their years of dedication to the company. Finally, we want our fans to know that we are committed to producing the best product and highest quality content that we can, and we appreciate their continued support. So, basically a corporate speak type of thing. So it's not really, that wasn't really anything. So they're saying like, hey, we're not dead yet. Boston Tony, these jobs are not lifetime appointments. Yeah, for real. So I just get the feeling that Anthem is just kind of moving on from a lot of the wrestling people, although like some of the people that got fired today were not wrestling people. And I think like Gail Kim is one of the last people from the Scott D'Amore era. They still got Ingrid and Johnny Bravo and Tommy Dreamer from that era, but I think Gail Kim is like the last of the Mohicans, in that sense. So, but man, it is I mean it's pretty crazy. I expected more changes to come, but I did not expect like a big axe to happen like all at once. Literally 3 days before another set of TV tapings. We got St. Joseph coming up on Friday, or they got St. Joseph coming up on Friday, and ticket sales are not good. So, and now you got a bunch of the wrestlers who are pretty butthurt. There have been some speaking out, like Tasha Steeles and Maggie Lee, and I think Steph Delander. They all love Gail Kim. Everybody loves Gail Kim. She rules. You're probably not going to find anybody that's ever had a bad thing to say about her, right? She's one of the greatest, and so I understand why everybody's upset. I get it. I'm just trying to look at it from a practical position. Just because you're a legendary wrestler doesn't mean you're good at working backstage, and that doesn't mean that your legacy is not still intact. It is. But not everybody is qualified for every job, right? So what her job is, I have done that for the military. That is a difficult job because not only do you have to please all of the people you got to take care of, you got a lot of bosses to please, and it's going to require you to be combative at times, and you got to build up equity, and you got to do it you got to do it the right way, right? Like it is a unique skill set that not everybody has. And just because you're a really good pro wrestler, that doesn't mean you have that skill set. Right. So So, I don't know, just like, with people saying, oh, well, you should hire, like everybody was saying that AEW should hire Bryan Danielson as like head booker, right? Like Tony Khan should quit being the head booker and he should hire Bryan Danielson. What qualifications does Bryan Danielson have to be head booker of AEW other than we like his wrestling and we have heard him talk about some of his ideas? But that doesn't mean that he can manage a wrestling company, because when you're the head booker, you're essentially like a big time manager of that promotion, right? And it's like, okay, you have all these ideas, but now you got to go sell it to the talent, and then you got to get the talent's buy-in. And then of course, once you go give that information to the talent, they're going to be combative. They'd be like, that doesn't work for me, brother. so now you got to figure out how to navigate that stuff. That is a unique skill set that not everybody has, right? Very few people have ever been successful as like long-term bookers, right? And so it is a difficult job. It's a difficult thing. Talent relations is an extremely difficult job. Tommy Dreamer, not Tom, but Jim Ross had that job for years in WWF, and he had the opportunity to take the job elsewhere. But once he got fired, he never wanted that job again. That is like a thankless position, because you have a boss, right? You have your boss above you, and you have all these like essentially like bosses below you. Like you're essentially in charge of them, but it's your job to keep them happy and get them to want to do things for the booker, right? It's a tough position to be in. Like ultimately there's no winning in that position. And so, like take a step back, remove the emotions from the situation. And I'm not sitting here saying that this guy, Carlos Silva, knows what the fuck he's doing. I got no evidence that he does. I got no evidence that he doesn't. Right. So I'm not saying that this was a good move at all. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm not saying I agree with firing Gail Kim, because I don't know what she's good at. I don't know what she's not good at. Okay. This guy, Carlos Silva, might get fired in a year. That seems to be the way the way things are going in this company. We had Richard Schaefer came over from Golden Boy, right? Well, he was in Golden Boy for a long time. Then he went over to the Irish company that was in like Qatar or something like that, the boxing company. I can't remember what it's called. He left there because it got jammed up in like the mob. And then he comes over to Anthem. He's gone after a year, right? And Scott D'Amore's TNA president, and then he's gone after a couple of years. Anthony Ciccione gone in less than a year, and now we got Carlos Silva. So I'm not saying this guy is going to be a success. They seem to believe in him though. Like the Asper family seems to believe in this guy because they let him shit-can just a ton of people that have been in this company for a long time. You know what I mean? All right. King of the North, my Canadian friend says, Mike Gilbert. Yes, sir. Mike Gilbert solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA wrestling. Like, comment, and subscribe. Head to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show for the latest episode of Brace for Impact. This is breaking news. Gail has not improved the KO division, so glad she is released. Brother man, Demon Shades 99. What evidence do we have that Gail Kim was in charge of hiring people for the Knockouts division? I just don't know where that came from. I know that's been said a long time. I know it's been getting said for a long time, but I don't know that it was ever in her job description that she was head of hiring the Knockouts division, right? And Demon Shade, what resources does she have to make improvements? Now, TNA diehards are seemingly blaming Gail Kim on recruitment. I want this explained to me. That's the thing. I don't know that she was in charge of recruiting. So, I don't know. I'm not sure. So I know that the roster is super thin right now. I know that they're utilizing NXT talent as almost a subsidy. But so I don't know that what she was in charge. I don't know that she was in charge of that at all. And nobody seems to have evidence that she absolutely. I could end up getting a DM and be like, hey, no, Mike, like this is exactly what her role was. And I think some of this will get shaken out because a lot of times like this stuff, like in like a week or so, we'll have more of a clear picture of what exactly her roles and responsibilities were. Because some of that is, will get leaked and, she'll do an interview. She'll do like Chris Van Vliet or something like that. Like what we just saw Scott D'Amore do. And like now we kind of have a clearer picture, of what exactly she was in charge of. But I don't know that she was in charge of hiring people. That I don't know. As far as I know, she was in charge. Like Ariel Schnerner was in charge of that. So Ariel Schnerner was in charge of all of that. So, and he just got fired too. So if anybody wants to put the blame on not hiring people, it's him. And he was the one not retaining a lot of the talent that just got cut. That wasn't Gail Kim. Once they get hired, then they would fall under talent relations, but that doesn't mean that she was in charge of hiring all of those people. Okay. Now, okay, hold on. King of the North says, even if she's in charge of recruiting women, what paying deals is she getting from higher ups to entice people? Well, look, I don't know exactly what they're paying people, but I mean, they're certainly paying people more than NWA, and NWA has about like 3 times the roster size of TNA. So they do pay people fairly decently. Not as much as AEW and WWE, of course, because they don't have the same resources, but they're probably paying people decently. They could be recruiting unknown, unnamed, unsigned, independent talent to fill out the roster, but I just don't think that's the way that they're doing business. They're keeping their roster small. They're keeping the roster small. And so again, I wouldn't put the recruitment and the roster size on her. I think that's on Ariel. Okay. He was the one in charge. Okay. Now, like, what is their recruitment strategy is what I'm curious about. I'm curious about that too. They haven't recruited anybody that doesn't have WWE Fed cred in a while. I know people are going to point, well, they have Maggie Lee. Nobody knows the fuck that is. So it's like one person. So they need a lot more people, but they are right now have decided to just keep the roster small, and they're being subsidized by NXT. And it's working. I mean, they have no identity anymore. I mean, it's working. Like the ticket sales are up. Okay. Majin Bull 17. Mike, where can I find the intro song of this podcast? It's just something I made in the computer. It's just mine. It's not like a public release type thing. So, and I don't have like a Spotify or anything like that. It's like, I just made it using this software. What the hell was it called? It was just an app on my phone that I just made it on. Like I created the lyrics and then I just like put it in this like this AI software and it cranked it out. So I just put like new metal, like a new metal thing. And then, with some details on it. And then it cranked out like 4 or 5 of them. This was just the one that I picked. I have a bunch of stuff like that. So just kind of playing around with that stuff. So, all right, I'm going to get off here pretty soon, but let me get to some more comments. Also, we don't know how many people they tried to get, but couldn't. A lot of people are going to hold out for WWE or AEW. I mean, I'm sure some of that is true with some of the bigger name people, but like, I think a lot of it is like, they have no vision of the future, right? They have done pretty well leeching off of former WWE and former AEW talent, like people that are already TV ready, that have names, and they're bringing them in because they're not really into, like, Scott D'Amore was really into talent development. Okay. That's like his passion. He's a coach. Okay. Once he left, the talent development piece kind of went away. We haven't really seen them actively trying to develop young talent other than Leon Slater in a long time. But I think Leon Slater is like, he's probably going to be like the next like Osprey, like for real. I think he's that good. And he's super young. He's super young right now. So, but all right, guys, I that's probably going to do it for me. If anything else breaks, I will be back. And of course, I'll be back. Excuse me. I'll be back this Saturday on Brace for Impact on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/The Mike and JD Show. I thank you guys so much for listening. So much for hanging out. I'm glad I was able to get to a lot of your comments. Again, if anything breaks, I'll try to cover it here. But until next time, mahalo.